Revealed, the incredible hidden identity that stunned the court and changed my life forever. Ella Martinez woke up on a morning that carried the weight of 1,000 heartaches. The sharp wind whipped through the cracks of her old windows, a reminder that life was as unforgiving as the endless Iowa cornfields that surrounded her struggling town. She hurriedly brewed coffee in her tiny kitchen before waking Mia, her bright-eyed daughter whose laughter was the only light in Ella's weary world. It was a ritual that kept Ella anchored, her heart full even amid despair. Working 2 jobs waitressing at Mike's Diner and cleaning offices was like climbing a steep hill, one foot in front of the other, where each day blended into the next. But every smile from Mia made it worthwhile, sparkling like stars in the dark sky of their life. Despite the judgmental glares from townsfolk, Ella held on to her belief in hard work. Good things had to come eventually, right? Then one fateful morning at the diner, the air buzzed with news that gripped Ella's attention. Tom Stevens, a local war veteran adored for his service, had been wrongfully accused of theft. Her heart ached as she heard whispers in the cafe how quickly the town turned to accusations, overshadowing all the good he'd done. In those moments, Ella recognized their shared struggles, the glares they both faced, the judgment that seemed to loom like dark clouds. It felt visceral, a gut-punch realization. Gathering her courage, Ella approached Tom. "I want to help." And with those words, she was thrown into a whirlwind of legal drama. As she spoke out for him, unearthed truths began to churn beneath the surface. Each interrogation and courtroom session felt like peeling back layers from a long-buried family secret. The moment of revelation came out of the blue. During a recess in court, rummaging through dusty boxes meant for another day, she discovered her father's military medals tucked away in an astonishing gold-lined box. He wasn't just a man who struggled, he was a war hero, a fact hidden under layers of disgrace and silence. Ella's heart raced, joy swelling as the truth broke through the years of shame. "Your father was brave," a lawyer said, admiration ablaze in his voice, as the gossip began to swirl among townsfolk about Ella's father. The reality of her identity shifted, the town's perception altering like light refracting through glass. Ella suddenly felt seen, not just a waitress or cleaner, but a daughter of valor. Could her father's legacy be the key to changing how others saw her? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Ella stood in the courtroom, the moment enveloping her like a heavy blanket. Everyone was watching, murmurs mingling with gasps, a tension that felt electric. The weight of expectations pressed down on her, and joy mixed confusingly with uncertainty. This newfound attention threatened to fracture the bonds with those she held dear. Were they supporting her for genuine love or simply curiosity? As the gavel came crashing down, silence washed over the crowd. Would Ella reclaim her place in this town, or would the same judgments that haunted her threaten to drag her under again? The room was charged with anticipation. A hesitant hope flickered as Ella dared to dream of a life untethered by shame. With her father's bravery lighting the path, questions hung in the air, waiting to be answered in the next explosive chapter of her life. The days that followed were a blur of emotions for Ella. After the courtroom revelation, it felt like the entire town was grappling with her family's past. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know about her father, the mysterious soldier who had once fought valiantly but whose legacy had been buried beneath years of silence and neglect. Ella found herself absorbing the stories from old-timers, reliving her father's heroism through the eyes of others. It was both uplifting and agonizing to hear about the man she barely knew, mingled with deep-seated regrets over lost opportunities. Mia noticed the change in her mother. "You're happy, Mama," she beamed one evening while they snuggled on the couch, the flicker of the TV bathing them in soft light. Ella couldn't suppress her smile, but it was mixed with a sadness she couldn't quite articulate. "I think I am, sweet girl, but sometimes I feel lost," she replied, wrapping her arms around Mia. "How do you navigate newfound identity when the old one is interwoven with sorrow?" At the diner, people began to treat her differently. Once filled with hostility and whispers, the atmosphere now buzzed with admiration. "You really stood up for him, didn't you?" an elderly woman said, genuine respect in her gaze. It was as if Tom's fight for justice had allowed Ella to slip into a new role, one that people respected rather than judged. Yet she couldn't shake the need for authenticity. Was this new admiration legitimate, or just a reaction to her father's legacy? With newfound determination, Ella decided to host a community gathering at the diner. "We need to talk," she announced to everyone as she placed an open invitation on the bulletin board. "Come share a story about bravery. About facing what we're scared of." Her hands trembled slightly as she hung the bright yellow paper. This was new territory for her, but she had to believe it mattered. The day of the gathering, the diner filled with familiar and unfamiliar faces. Ella stood anxiously behind the counter, pouring coffee as the crowd buzzed excitedly. Tom arrived, his face still weary but relieved to be out of the spotlight for a moment. "You did good, Ella," he said, and his words felt like a warm hug. As people began to share their stories of heroism and resilience, Ella felt a fire ignite within her. Each tale was a thread, the tapestry of their lives intertwined in shared struggles, that painful yet beautiful American story of survival. Tears flowed freely as laughter rang out, and for the first time, Ella felt a palpable sense of unity. The walls of judgment began to crumble under the weight of vulnerability, but as the evening progressed, Ella saw Sam, a childhood friend who had distanced himself after her father's scandal had surfaced years ago. His eyes held a mix of regret and shame, and Ella's heart clenched. When he finally stepped forward, the diner fell silent. "I need to ask, was it really your father who stole those medals?" The room stiffened with tension. Ella's heart raced, she could almost hear the clock ticking as everyone awaited her response. Betrayal felt sharp, but so did the need for clarity. She opened her mouth to speak, but would the truth free her, or would it unravel this fragile bond she'd just started to build? In that moment, the future of their rekindled connections hung precariously in the balance, and Ella had to choose her words carefully. The next chapter was forming in her mind, a complexity that she had not expected. How would she respond to the doubts that threatened to resurface her past? She took a deep breath, ready to redefine herself yet again. Would this answer bring closure or just open up a new wound? And as the silence stretched like a taut string, Ella found herself standing at the very edge of an unknown future, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. Ella stood there, swallowed by uncertainty, the diner's hum fading into a distant murmur. All eyes were on her, and the weight of their gazes felt like boulders resting on her shoulders. She could sense the community's anticipation, the way they clung to her every word, hoping for answers. Taking another deep breath, she tried to ground herself. "I don't know what really happened," she began, her voice trembling. "What I do know is that my father never spoke of those medals, never bragged about his service. And maybe that was his way of protecting us from the truth, from the whispers." The words came tumbling out, raw and unfiltered, as if her heart had cracked open to let them flood free. Sam's expression tightened, his own memories flashing behind those blue eyes. "But there's a difference between what we assume and what's reality," he challenged gently. "Did your father dishonor himself?" The question hung in the air, crisp and cold. Ella searched his face, trying to find the boy she remembered, the one who laughed with her and stood by her side no matter what. "Sam," she said softly, "I can't defend actions I don't fully understand. I'm still learning who he was." The truth felt like shards of glass cutting into her, each memory a jagged piece of a larger picture. She remembered sitting next to her father as a small child, listening to fragments of stories he shared while twirling a strand of his hair, his laughter echoing in the sunny kitchen. Those sunny afternoons seemed so far away now, more dream than reality. A heavy silence blanketed the room. Then, suddenly, an elderly gentleman in the back interrupted, "But you're not your father, Ella. You're your own person. Your strength shines, just like his did." His words struck a chord. Ella nodded slowly, her heart racing. "Yes. I need to take a stand for my own truth. Whatever my father did or didn't do doesn't change who I want to be." She clasped her hands together, allowing vulnerability to break through her initial shield. "I want to create a different narrative. One filled with honesty, bravery, and healing." The murmurs swelled, the soft rustle of acceptance weaving through the crowd. As stories continued, they shared tales of overcoming doubts and confronting fears, and in those stories, Ella found newfound strength. She realized these faces were bound together not just by the past but by the collective desire to move forward despite their scars. When the night finally drew to an end, Ella felt an infectious spirit of hope swirling around her. People left, not just with stories but with a shared commitment to face their truths together. As the last stragglers exited, only Sam remained, the door closing behind him with a gentle click. "Ella," he said, taking a step closer, "I'm sorry for ever doubting you. You deserve this chance. You shouldn't carry your father's burdens anymore." His sincerity washed over her, but she felt a twinge of fear lurking just beneath the surface. What if the truth is worse than I imagine, Sam? What if my father really did betray his service? Sam reached for her hand, steady and reassuring. "You'll never know until you dig deeper. Sometimes healing means confronting the ugliest parts of our past." Ella nodded, the horizon line of her future blurred above a swell of uncertainty. "I guess it means facing not just him, but who I am too." With a final lingering look, Sam turned to leave, making Ella's heart ache with the unspoken words hanging in the air. Would she have the courage to uncover the hidden parts of her father's story? Would the truth set her free or keep her anchored in pain? As she watched Sam exit the diner, she knew she was standing at another crossroads navigating the complexities of love, legacy, and loss. The journey to uncover her father's truth felt daunting, yet invigorating. What birds would the next chapters in her life bring, and would they speak of redemption or revelation? Ella turned back inside the diner, a burning resolve ignited within. It was time to dig deeper and find the truth buried beneath the shards of the past. She had to prepare for whatever lay ahead. The next morning, Ella woke to the glaring sunlight spilling through her window. She hadn't slept well, her mind racing with the weight of her decision. As she sat up, the events of the night flooded back, each moment replaying like a film in her head. The diner's warmth contrasted sharply with the cool air of uncertainty that filled her chest. Determined, she pushed herself off the bed and slipped into her sneakers. A jog seemed like the best way to clear her head. The rhythmic pounding of her feet against the pavement felt cathartic, a reminder that she was alive, moving forward. Each step whispered encouragement, propelling her toward the answers she sought. As she ran through town, she passed familiar sights: the school where she first discovered her love of storytelling, the park where she giggled with friends on swings, even the old library that had cradled her stories and ambitions. And yet, all these memories felt tainted by the uncertainty around her father's past. In that moment, she sensed she was running not just for herself but for all the whispers and shadows that lingered in her family's history. When she reached the library, the bell chimed softly as she pushed open the door. The familiar smell of old books and polished wood welcomed her like an old friend. With renewed focus, she made her way to the local history section. If she wanted to uncover her father's truth, she would have to start here, within the archives that held so many lives before hers. After browsing through dusty volumes and faded photographs, she stumbled upon a newspaper article about a veteran. Her heart raced as she read the headline: "Local hero or villain? Controversial actions under scrutiny." The name was familiar. It was her father's. Ella's hands trembled. The shadows began to dance again, pushing her emotions and memories against the walls of her mind. What had her father done that could be described in such terms? Deep breath, just a story to be told, she reminded herself. With a pen in hand, she jotted down the details and references to files she could inquire about later. The deeper she dug, the more shrouded in mystery his life became. She began to see him for the complex man he was, a figure blurred by both honor and shame. After what felt like hours, she stepped back, her heart heavy with the weight of newfound questions. What if the truth wasn't just a single action but a series of choices, defined by both courage and fear? She was about to close a book when another article caught her eye. A photograph alongside it: young men, their faces radiant with youth and pride, donned in military uniforms. Among them was her father, but beside him stood a stranger, someone she had never seen before. It was funny how much she had thought she knew, and yet here was more evidence that she had only skimmed the surface. Who was this man? Why was he with her father? Did he play a role in her father's story of struggle and reputation? Questions spiraled in her mind like an unruly whirlwind. She couldn't face this alone. Sam, he believed in her strength and had pledged his support. She needed him now more than ever. With a new determination lighting her heart, she gathered the articles and made her way to the exit, a rush of urgency pushing her forward. She had to speak to Sam, to share this whirlwind of discovery. It was time to craft her own story. As she stepped outside, the sun was setting, casting brilliant hues of orange and gold across the sky. In that moment, Ella knew the journey she was embarking on was more than just about her father's past. It was about her own identity, her own narrative. Tonight would change everything, and she would discover what hidden identities lay ahead. Would it bring liberation, or would it shake the very foundation she stood on? Her heart raced as she set off to find Sam, knowing their conversation would force them both down a path lined with both hope and fear. Ella hurried down the street, her heart thumping wildly against her ribs. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was on the edge of something profound. Each step toward Sam felt like a step toward the truth, but also a step into the unknown. The discoveries she laid eyes on in the library played on her mind like a haunting melody. Who was that stranger beside her father? What stories did they share that had slipped through the cracks of her family history? As she approached Sam's house, the familiar quaintness of his porch brought a fleeting sense of comfort. The door stood ajar, and she stepped inside without knocking. Sam was already seated at the kitchen table, a notebook and a mug of coffee in front of him. The warm glow of the overhead light illuminated his eager expression, which quickly turned into concern when he noticed her furrowed brow. "Hey, everything okay?" he asked, setting down the pencil. Ella took a deep breath, scanning his face for signs of understanding. "I need to show you something, Sam." She laid the articles before him, her fingers brushing against the paper as she instinctively felt the weight of her revelations. Sam picked up the top article, his brow knitting together as he read the headline. "Your dad, in the news?" "He's in it more than I realized," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But there's something more. Look at this." She pushed the photograph toward him, her heart racing. He shifted closer, and she watched his features change as he too recognized the man standing next to her father. "Who is that?" Sam asked, his voice steady but laced with curiosity. "I don't know. But if I do some digging, maybe I'll find out," she replied, her determination growing. This could be the key. The questions, they just keep piling up. "Maybe talk to your mom?" Sam suggested thoughtfully, though she could tell he already guessed her feelings about that. Ella shook her head. "I don't want to upset her. She's always dodged the past. But maybe I need to confront it head-on." "You've gotten this far. Maybe you can handle confronting her too," he replied, his tone supportive. "But be ready. Sometimes the truth is hard to take." The words hit her hard, like a splash of cold water. She closed her eyes for a moment, the weight of uncertainty crashing over her. What if her mother didn't want to talk? What if she kept more secrets that could unravel everything? "Okay." Ella sighed, feeling the tension in her chest tighten. "But there's something more, Sam. Whatever story surrounds my dad, it feels tangled with who I am. I don't want to just know about his past, I want to understand my own." Sam nodded, his eyes solid and unwavering. "We'll figure it out together. I'm here every step of the way." Just then, the doorbell rang, cutting through their moment of intensity. Ella jumped, her heart leaping into her throat. Who could that be at this hour? She exchanged nervous glances with Sam, and he raised an eyebrow, motioning for her to stay put. As Sam stepped toward the door, Ella's thoughts spiraled back to her father. The man she had idealized, the hero she believed him to be. What if that image shattered with whatever truth Sam would reveal? But the moment Sam opened the door, all thoughts of her father faded, replaced by an unexpected visitor. A tall figure, someone who looked like he belonged in a different time, stood before them. Ella's breath hitched as their eyes met. "Ella," he said, his voice smooth but panicked. "We need to talk." It's about your father. Her heart plummeted. What could this man possibly know? What other layers of her father's past were about to be unfolded? As fear and curiosity seized her, Ella felt the world spin. Tonight was not just a chapter, it was a turning point, and she was standing on the precipice of revelation. What deeper truth could this stranger unveil, and how would it change everything she thought she knew? Ella's instinct was to retreat, to put distance between her and the stranger who claimed to have answers, but before she could act, Sam stepped forward. He stood tall, his protective demeanor radiating warmth and reassurance. "Who are you?" Sam asked, piercing through the tension that wrapped around them like a thick fog. I'm Michael," the man replied, visibly shaken, his eyes darting between Ella and Sam. "I knew your father. He had a past one he never shared with you." Ella could feel her heart racing again, a mix of fear and anticipation simmering in her veins. "What do you mean, new? What kind of past?" Michael took a shaky breath, seeming to collect himself. "Your dad wasn't just a regular guy, Ella. He was involved in things that put him in dangerous situations. Things that could come back to haunt you." The impact of his words hit her like a punch. She could hardly formulate a response, her mind whirling. "You're saying he was involved in something illegal?" "It's more complicated than that." Michael rubbed the back of his neck, his voice laden with regret. "There were people after him. People who might still be looking for information, including about you." Fear coiled in her stomach, threatening to seep into her thoughts. "Why are you telling me this? What do you want?" Ella could see Sam's tense face, a silent agreement passing between them. They needed to understand this, but how could they trust a stranger? "I want to protect you," he said, his gaze earnest. "There are files, evidence that could keep you safe. I came looking for you before it's too late." Ella felt the weight of her decisions crashing down on her. How could she unravel a lifetime of secrets buried deep within the family she loved? "Is that why my father disappeared?" she quietly asked. Michael nodded, the shadows of remorse darkening his features. "He had to leave to keep you out of danger. He thought he could protect you by telling you nothing." The silence broke around them as J.'s mug clattered against the table, the noise echoing as they absorbed the implications of Michael's words. "Ella," Sam whispered, stepping nearer to her. "We have to decide. This could change everything. Or destroy everything," she muttered, glancing at the articles scattered on the table. The weight of her father's legacy pressed on her shoulders, and suddenly the world she knew felt shaky beneath her feet. "Maybe your mom knows more," Sam offered, though Ella could feel the tension hanging in the air. "This could mean you need to dig deeper." She shook her head slowly. But is it worth dragging her into this? Memories of her mother's cautious nature flashed in her mind. What if more secrets come to light that she never wanted me to uncover? "Sometimes you can't choose what you find," Michael added, his voice steady, but tinged with an urgency that matched Ella's pulsing heart. "But you can choose how to face it." The desire to remain oblivious clashed violently with the urge to uncover the truth. Ella closed her eyes, envisioning the puzzle pieces of her life. Was it worth uncovering the truth if it meant shattering everything she thought she knew? "I need time to think," she said, her voice quaking slightly. The weight of responsibility loomed overhead, and she wasn't quite ready to bear it. "Ella, there's no time to waste," Michael urged, desperation creeping into his tone. "I can help. But you have to trust me on this." The uncertainty twisted deeper in her gut. What would it all look like if she agreed to dig? What truths could be waiting in the shadows? "Let us talk about this, all of us," Sam interjected, taking charge. "We've got to figure out our next step together." As they all refocused, Ella exchanged a look with Sam and felt a small flicker of hope. Together, perhaps they could unravel whatever mystery lay ahead. Unfolding truths wouldn't be easy, but if there was a chance to reclaim her father's past while shaping her future, she had to take it. "Okay, let us hear what you know." The words left her lips, firm yet trembling, and Ella braced herself. The journey into her family's history had officially begun, but she could feel the weight of candle flames dancing dangerously close to a hidden fuse. What awaited her could erase everything she thought she knew. She just hoped she was ready to face it. Michael took a step closer, his body taut with urgency. I found some files, old correspondence between your father and a woman named Clara. She was part of his past, a dangerous part, and it could all be connected to why he disappeared. Ella's pulse quickened at the mention of Clara. What kind of connection? Who was she? He hesitated, searching for the right words. Your father loved her, but she was involved in a world he wanted to escape. I think it's why he cut ties, but those ties are still there, tangled in secrets that might explain everything. Loved her? Ella's voice was barely above a whisper, confusion clouding her thoughts. What do you mean he loved her? Why didn't he tell me? That's the thing. He wanted to keep you safe, Ella. To keep you away from the danger. He thought ignorance would shield you. That's ridiculous. She felt anger simmering inside her like a boiling pot. How could he protect me by shutting me out? It's not like I'd be any safer living in a lie. Think carefully about what you want, Michael cautioned, sensing the storm brewing in her mind. Sometimes the truth is more dangerous than the lie. Sam shifted nervously beside her. Ella, if there's a risk, we need a plan. We can't just dive in without knowing what we're facing. Right, she agreed, but felt a storm of conflicting emotions rage through her. I don't even know how to approach my mom about this, or if I even should. What if it disrupts everything? Sometimes, disruption leads to clarity, Michael said softly. It's essential you understand your father's choices to navigate what's ahead. Ella felt torn. She could already picture her mother's reaction, a mix of disbelief and protectiveness. If I confront her, she may just send me away again. She hasn't told me anything of value in years. But maybe she doesn't know everything, Sam interjected, eyes searching hers for agreement. She might have kept secrets to protect you from something that already hurt your dad. How do we even start? Ella breathed out, staring blankly at the table. I can't just waltz in and ask. It would break her. You don't have to go in unprepared, Michael responded, his voice steady and reassuring. Start small. Let her know you're curious about your dad. Build from there. She nodded slowly, even though doubt loomed over her. Okay, I can try that. Good, Michael encouraged. But you have to be deliberate and stay calm. And I'll be here, ready to support you when you need to confront the bigger truths. The thought sent chills down Ella's spine. In the small confines of their coffee shop, the world felt too big, too threatening. She wasn't sure if she wanted to drag her mother into a nightmare that could unravel their lives, yet, deep down, a flicker of hope ignited against that looming fear. If there was a chance to understand her father's decisions, to bring light into those shadows he'd cast, wasn't it worth the risk? Before we talk to anyone, we should gather some more information, Sam suggested, breaking through her turbulent thoughts. I want to know more about this Clara. If she was a threat, we need to understand why. Right, Ella agreed, adrenaline kicking in. The truth was too important. Maybe there is something in those old documents that can lead us to her. Michael straightened up, his face now a mask of determination. Then that's our next step. I can help you research and find what you need. Ella's fingers grazed the edges of the scattered articles on the table, feeling the significance of each one. Let us start with what you have, Michael. Any lead could make a difference. As Michael began to share what he knew, the gravity of their situation sank in, pulling them into a vortex of unknown possibilities. Each pearl of information knit the threads of her father's past tighter around her, compressing time into a singular focus, uncovering the truth. Suddenly, everything could be on the line. Ella, Sam said, his tone more serious, we need to be cautious. If there is someone still looking for answers, we might become targets too. The prospect hung heavily between them. What had they stirred awake? The shadows that had loomed over her family history felt like they were closing in, and Ella could hardly breathe, but she made a choice. And the choice was to confront her fears rather than run from them, even if the journey led her down a path fraught with peril. "We'll face whatever comes together," she whispered, her voice firmer now, igniting a sense of unity among them. As they prepared to uncover more, Ella couldn't shake the feeling that they were dancing on the edge of something big, something dangerous, and she had no idea what the next turn would bring. What if the truth they were seeking led them to a fate they never imagined? Ella's heart raced as she and her friends delved into the folders Michael brought. Each piece of paper felt heavy with possibilities, as if her father's past was reaching out to her from beyond the grave. "Here," Michael said, sifting through old letters, "look at this. It's a postcard addressed to Clara. It was sent from a small town just outside of Memphis." He paused, looking up at Ella. This could be a good starting point. Memphis. The name echoed in her mind. There was something about it, the music, the history. "We should go there. Maybe there are records, places he visited." "Are you sure?" "That's a lot to take on," Sam cautioned, but the look in Ella's eyes silenced him. He knew this was something she had to do. "I have to," Ella replied, her voice steady. "I need to know what he was running from. And maybe we can find Clara. If she was in his life, she could explain everything." Michael nodded, and they spent the next hour mapping out a plan. It felt like a mission, one that pulled them together in a way nothing else had. They were no longer just friends, they were allies, bound by a shared quest for the truth. That evening, Ella sat on her bed, the sun slipping away outside her window. She stared at the scattered papers, photographs, and the postcard that had ignited a fire within her. The more she learned, the more questions surfaced, pushing away the comforting fog of ignorance that had enveloped her. Her mom's voice broke through her thoughts. "Ella. Dinner. I'll be right there." She quickly shoved the papers into a drawer, feeling a twinge of guilt. Keeping secrets felt wrong, but the urgency to find answers drowned out her hesitation. At the table, her mom's smile felt forced, eyes darting away to the TV. "Everything okay?" Ella asked, her voice steady even as anxiety bubbled inside. "Just tired," her mom replied, a hint of something unspoken lingering in the air. Ella carefully tested the waters. "Do you remember anything about Dad's past? Maybe about Clara?" Her mother's fork clattered against the plate, and the sudden noise made Ella jump. "What do you know about her?" "Not much," Ella lied, heart racing. "I just heard the name and was curious." Her mother's expression hardened, and Ella felt a wave of frustration crash over her. "I'm just trying to understand. Why won't you talk to me?" "I'm protecting you." Her mother snapped, voice rising. "Some things are meant to stay buried, Ella. Your father made his choices for a reason." Ella felt the walls closing in, the electricity in the air thickening. "But what if those reasons put me in danger too? What if Clara is still out there?" For a moment, silence filled the room, thick and heavy. Her mother's eyes searched Ella's, as if weighing the truth against the safety she clung to. "What if she is?" Her mother finally whispered, fear etched across her face. "What if she is still connected to all of this?" Ella took a breath, the weight of her mother's worry pressing against her. "I have to know," she said softly, determination igniting every syllable. "I need to see the whole picture, I need to understand him." Her mother's gaze dropped, chin trembling slightly. "You think you can handle that? The truth can be unkind." "I don't know what's waiting for me," Ella admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "But isn't it better to face it than to live in fear?" The question lingered between them, heavy with unresolved emotions. Her mother's silence screamed volumes, amplifying Ella's pulse. Then, her mother looked up, a haunting sorrow deep in her eyes. "I just don't want to lose you too," Ella softened, reaching across the table. "You won tea. I promise." That night, as she lay in bed, Ella stared at the ceiling, wondering how deep this mystery went. The plan to travel to Memphis felt more like a leap into darkness. With each breath, the weight of the unknown grew heavier. What awaited them in Memphis? Would Clara hold the answers, or would she pull them further into a web of secrets? As sleep evaded her, Ella whispered to the shadows of the room, "Whatever happens, I'm ready." And with that promise, she felt a flicker of hope amidst the fear and the stillness of the night. One question echoed in her mind. What truths awaited them there, and would they be ready for the fallout? Ella woke up to the sound of her alarm, its persistent beeping cutting through her tangled thoughts. Morning light filtered through the curtains, illuminating the room and the strewn papers on her desk, a chaotic reflection of her racing mind. Today was the day. They were heading to Memphis, and though anxiety twisted in her stomach, excitement flickered right alongside it. After breakfast, she met Michael and Sam in the driveway. They had gathered maps, snacks, and a set of determined expressions that mirrored her own. Michael held the postcard tightly in his fist. The small piece of paper held far more than ink and imagery. It was a lifeline to the past, promising answers. "Ready?" he asked, his voice steady. Ella nodded, her heart pounding. "Let us find out what's waiting for us." As they drove, the scenery shifted from familiar suburbs to wide-open fields and small towns. Ella felt every mile take her further away from her mother's fears and deeper into a mystery that begged to be uncovered. The three friends sang along to old tunes, breaking the tension. But as they approached Memphis, the air thickened. Ella caught sight of the skyline ahead, a blend of old and new, history seeping from every crevice. She pressed her fingers against the window, feeling as if she could somehow absorb the city's spirit. They parked near a historic district filled with charm and character. Cobblestone streets lined with vintage shops and cafes beckoned to them, but Ella had a mission. "The postcard," she said, pulling it out. "Let us go to the address. It's just a few blocks away." As they walked, Ella tried to contain her racing thoughts. What if Clara was just a figment of her father's past, a ghost in the shadows of memory? What if she meant nothing at all? The questions raced through her mind like a cacophony of doubts. They arrived at a quaint cottage, its paint peeling but still exuding an odd warmth. Michael knocked on the door, heartbeats in the still air. After a moment, the door creaked open to reveal an elderly woman with soft, kind eyes. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice gentle. "Hi, we're looking for someone named Clara," Ella blurted out, her voice steadier than she felt. The woman's expression changed. Brief recognition flickered across her face before it was replaced by a mask of neutrality. "Clara hasn't lived here for years," she said slowly. "But if you're looking for her, you might want to try the library nearby. She used to volunteer there." Hope surged in Ella's chest, pushing her doubts aside. "Thank you," she said, determination flooding her voice. The library was a beautiful brick building, and once inside, the smell of aged paper and ink filled the air, wrapping her in a sense of familiarity. They approached the front desk, where an older man sat reading. He looked up, his brow furrowing with curiosity. "Can I help you?" he asked. "Our father used to know Clara," Ella explained, her heart racing as she sensed the man's familiarity. "Do you have any records of her? Anything at all?" After a long pause, the man nodded slowly. "I might know something. Follow me." He led them to a back room lined with shelves, dust motes dancing in the beams of light. Ella felt her breath hitch as he pulled out a file with Clara's name on it. This was at the moment she had been waiting for. She opened it carefully, heart pounding, expecting revelations that could finally complete the missing pieces of her father's past, but as she looked down at the contents, Ella's world seemed to tilt. The name listed next to Clara's wasn't one she'd expected at all, a name that sent chills racing down her spine. What's this?" she stammered, the repercussions of the discovery crashing over her. Michael and Sam leaned closer, their faces mirroring Ella's shock. "This isn't just about her," Sam murmured softly, his eyes wide. "It's about all of us." In that moment, as the truth unfurled before her like a dark cloud, Ella knew she was about to dive into a reality she may not be ready for. What had the past been hiding? And how would it change everything she thought she knew? Ella took a shaky breath, clutching the file tight. She was standing on the edge of a revelation that could rip apart everything she held dear, or perhaps stitch together the frayed edges of her family's history. What would it reveal next? Ella stood at the precipice of the truth, the file clutched tightly in her trembling hands. As she opened it, her heart raced, filled with hope and dread. The words spilled out like ink blots on a page, each line holding a weight she hadn't anticipated. The name next to Clara S. sent shockwaves through her chest. Why is my father's name here? Ella's voice was barely a whisper, wavering with confusion. The truth rolled out like a thunderstorm in her mind. Samuel Smith, her father's best friend, whom she had considered a distant memory of warmth and laughter, was intertwined with Clara's life. Why hadn't her mother mentioned this? One piece could change everything. Michael frowned, flipping through the pages. Ella, this isn't just a coincidence. This means your father wasn't just running away from one secret. There's more. More? Sam echoed, glancing from the aging librarian's ancient gaze to the file, now feeling a bit like a time bomb. What do you mean? Ella's breath quickened. The memories of her father's stories flooded back his struggles, his values. But now she saw shadows where there had once been light, understanding that the man she idolized had layers of complexity and hidden struggles. This changes everything. With urgency, the three of them gathered around a table in the corner of the library, going through the file in silence. Inside were letters revealing a relationship that had grown amid turmoil, a bond strained and frayed by the very anonymity that her father thought would protect her. The deeper she dove into the pages, the more connections sprang forth, and fear gripped tightly at Ella's heart. Clara wasn't just an old friend. She was someone important, someone who affected his life like a shadow, she said, her voice unsteady but filled with resolve. He was trying to shield me from something that might have come back to hurt us. Michael leaned in closer, his brow furrowed. Then we have to find her. She's the key to understanding all this. I don't know if I'm ready, Ella said, uncertainty creeping back like a whisper in the dark. What if she brings pain? What if she reveals more about my father that destroys his legacy? Or what if she helps you reclaim it? Sam countered, his words like a single beam of light piercing through Ella's fog of doubt. You need to know who he was as much for yourself as for your future. Her heart swirled with the rush of emotions. Could understanding her father's past repair the fractures in her own heart? Could it free her from the chains of fear that had been binding her? They took a deep breath, and Ella felt a glimmer of defiance flooding her spirit. I want to confront this. I want the truth no matter how painful it may be. Following the trail laid out in the documents, Ella and her friends headed to a small cafe where Clara had worked for many years. The smell of coffee and pastries tugged at her senses as they entered, and the warmth of the place wrapped around her. Yet, the moment they spotted a woman at the counter with silver hair and a hint of defiance in her posture, Ella's heart ignited with a mixture of fear and determination. Clara? She ventured, her voice echoing nervously through the bustling cafe. The woman turned, her gaze piercing. Yes? Ella stepped forward, her hands shaking, but she found her voice. I'm Ella. I'm here to talk about my father. Time froze. The clinking of cups muted, and the world around them disappeared as Clara's expression transformed. Recognition washed over her, and with it, layers of emotion, like waves crashing against a shore. Your father, Clara began, her voice a mixture of sorrow and fondness. He loved you more than you ever knew. More than he let on. Tears pricked at Ella's eyes. But why did he have to keep it all a secret? What was he trying to hide? Clara's eyes misted. He made choices to protect you. But secrets have a way of boomeranging back into our lives. Sometimes they burden us with regret instead. Ella could feel vulnerability unfurling within her. Can you help me understand? I want to know the whole story. And with that request, the floodgates opened. Clara began to recount tales of struggle, bravery, and unspoken grief, the very fabric of her father's life, woven together by courage and fear. Their shared stories painted a new picture, one in which Ella began to see her father not as a saint or a ghost but as a human being complex and multifaceted. As the conversation unfolded, Ella felt chains of doubt disconnect. Tears flowed freely, not from sadness but from emotions she had buried deep within herself. In that moment, she realized that uncovering these truths did not shatter her father's legacy. Instead, it reinforced it. After their talk, she left the cafe with a heart swollen with understanding. "He loved me," she whispered, as if piecing together a jigsaw puzzle. Her father wasn't the man she thought he was, but he was also so much more flawed and brave. Trying to navigate a world filled with shadows. As they returned to the car, Ella felt weightless, the burdens of the past beginning to slip from her shoulders. With each step, her own story began to unfold, distinct yet intertwined with her father's. She was no longer just a daughter living in the shadows, she was a woman reclaiming her truth. They drove back to Iowa, and Ella's heart was filled with gratitude. Here was a chance to start anew. She would share her father's truth with her mother, not to dismantle the bonds of love but to weave them tighter. With Sam by her side and Michael's resolve supporting her, Ella felt invigorated. "Let us go home," she said, smiling through glistening tears. "It's time to share what we've learned. Time to live our truths together." And as they drove into the sunset, Ella knew she was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Healing, love, and the search for a family with secrets no longer weighing heavily. She stepped into her new reality, heart bold and alive, ready to embrace the beautiful chaos of life. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support by leaving a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.